Hi, everybody.
Hello, ma'am.
So today I'm looking forward to having wonderful conversations with some amazing people. And the best part is that are people who have been functioning in this COVID-19 era. I'm saying COVID-19 era because I believe after this things are going to all change. This was like a pre-dinosaur era and after dinosaur era. So similarly, it's going to be a pre-COVID era and post-COVID era. And in this difficult COVID era, when it has started and hopefully it'll end soon, maybe in a year or 2 years, whatever. So today we're going to be discussing with some amazing people who have done some amazing work in spite of all the adversities in this situation. So we all have seen that how our governments, and I'm not blaming any government here because it is the first for all the governments all over the world. So we have seen how, unfortunately, our government was not able to handle things with the sudden lockdown, the migrant labor having to leave the cities and go back to their own, states, and the whole everything. I mean, the whole healthcare system, which actually in 73 or 73, whatever, how many years we've had since independence, we should have really built up to a great level, but we didn't do it. For whatever reason that we can discuss some other day, but it's high time. I think people also realize that this is what we need: good education, good public health facilities. We need to recognize also those people who stood with us on the ground. For example, our BMC staff, our police, our municipal staff, our police, our doctors, our frontline healthcare workers, and most important, all the people, the public, the private people who went and helped people in spite of some of them didn't have registered NGOs also, and in spite of no help coming from anywhere. They were putting their own money, begging people for money. And there was some amazing people, and we've got about 6 of them here, and 7 of them actually here, and we are going to meet them today and discuss with them what was their journey in the COVID-19 period, when it started off until now. So my first introduction is going to be of someone who I've seen growing up, and she has done amazing work, and I felt so proud when I saw her for the first time on television speaking about COVID and the coronavirus. That's Dr. Tripti Gilada Baheti. She has medically trained in MBBS and MD medicine from the Nair and KM hospitals, respectively. Subspecialized in infectious diseases at the prestigious Harvard University and the Fred Hutchinson Center, Seattle, USA. Also an infectious disease consultant at the Prince Ali Khan Hospital and Masina Hospital in Mumbai. During the COVID-19 epidemic, she has been closely involved not just with the clinical treatment of COVID patients, but also with prevention and education programs, policy making, setting safety protocols for various Mumbai hospitals, and has been a regular expert panelist for COVID-19 on several primetime news channels. So you'll say, okay, she's a doctor, so she's doing her job. But you know something? Doing her job when she's almost full-term pregnant, going to hospital regularly, helping her patients, being there for them, wearing that PPE suit, being dehydrated, and in spite of that, her father is also a very, very good doctor, and he was one of the front runners of the people who were in the field when HIV and AIDS came into our country, Dr. I.S. Gilada. And so this girl has shown such commitment, and it's amazing. Welcome, Dr. Tripti. I have, next one is Anthony Mascarenas. He's the president of the alumni of Don Bosco Past Pupils, ex-students body of St. Dominic Savio High School in Andheri East. They have been on the ground zero from the last 90 plus days. It must be now 100 days, distributing meals across Mumbai to migrant workers, slum dwellers, and many more needy people in Mumbai. They will reach 10 lakh meals by July 10, that's tomorrow. Ration kits, hygiene kits, milk for children are the other distributions that they have undertaken in Mumbai. And their campaign is called Feed My Mumbai. Manjusha Bosle, a volunteer at the Robin Hood Army at the Thane chapter since last 3 years. By profession, she's a manager of senior credit control at India Today Group since the last 14 years. So she was looking for some good work to do, and she found Robin Hood Army on the KBC and on TEDx, and then she contacted them. Robin Hood Army consists of over 58,400 volunteers, approximately in 182 cities, and has served food to over 32.4 million people so far. That's amazing. The volunteers people from all walks of life. The less fortunate sections who the organization reaches out to include homeless families, orphanages, night shelters, home for abandoned children, patients from public hospitals, etc. And the Robin Hood Army takes excess food from restaurants, functions, parties, and provides that food to needy. It is a volunteer-based zero funds organization. It is functioning in the cities across India and 12 other countries. Of course, there will be no parties and restaurants where they must have been getting food, so that we're going to find out how was their journey when that food was not available, and how did they, supply food to so many other people without this avenue of food for them. Dipesh Tank, I hope he's joined us by now. Born and brought up in Mumbai, past job experience, office boy, repairing computers, sales, call center, events, radio, advertising. Amazing. I mean, look at the journey. Started a non-profit, Youth for People, in 2006 to mobilize young energies towards the betterment. Spearheaded many initiatives like Notebook Drive for 50K rural India students. Beach or Beach, the beach cleaning drive in Mumbai. WARR, WARR. So that is against war against railway rowdies, a women's safety event to nab sex offenders in Mumbai local trains. Rush of Blood, a musical donation drive. I thought I read it wrong. Oh my God. Currently full-time working for anti-trafficking NGO, where he rescues and rehabilitates the survivors of human trafficking, and given many talks on social responsibility at various platforms, including TEDx. His COVID rehabilitation work supported over 14,000 plus individuals with weekly supply of food grains under the banner of Youth for People. Dolphy D'Souza, our senior most in the group, and he has done some great work. I know, Dolphy, you've done a lot of work with police reform, but today we're going to talk about the COVID work that you've done. He's a project lead of Mumbai Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative and City Core Group. He's a spokesperson and former president of the Bombay Catholic Sabha. Khushru Pocha works for the Indian Railways. He is the founder of www.indianblooddonors.com, which connects needy patients with blood donors, which he started 20 years back, and the Seva Kitchen, which feeds the needy in hospitals. Both these initiatives are not registered NGOs. They are individuals' efforts. During the last 3 months, Seva Kitchen has raised material worth more than 1 crore. Wow. He calls himself a soul entrepreneur. And last of all, our lovely Salma Memon. Miss Salma Memon is a young social activist from Mumbai. By profession, she's a teacher, and by passion, a social worker. She's a founder, president of Umeed Foundation. She is working for social causes from the tender age of 10, inspired thousands of youth, created impact in thousands of children and family, and has received more than 450 accolades from the state, national, and international level. She has... So in the COVID-19, during the COVID-19 time, and of course it's still continuing, she and her team have served food through various community kitchens to 12,786 people daily, and has supported more than 10,000 families for food and ration, which includes daily wage earners, residents from slums, laborers, transgenders, and sex workers. So now this was my fantastic panelists, and I've introduced all of them. I can still see that Dipesh is not yet joined, but we'll continue. So I'm going to start with Dolphy. Dolphy D'Souza, please tell me, what were the challenges? How did you start your work in the when the COVID-19 started, and what did you feel was necessary? Dolphy, you're on mute. You'll have to unmute yourself.
First of all, my salam and salute to my fellow travelers in this outreach program of COVID outreach. And thank you, Kunika, for initiating this beautiful interaction of exchange, which could inspire so many others. It inspires us also to learn from our co-fellow travelers. One of the issue that I have is in terms of naming them as Corona warriors. Warriors means war means destruction. I always feel we should call each of us as Corona
saviors.
Angels.
Or
Corona
saviors.
Angels, because angels means compassion, it means love, it means reaching out, That's the message that we must constantly give because of this whole thing. So may I request if the 3 slides, I can begin to play that quickly?
Yeah.
And then proceed with the explanation in terms of the journey.
Sure. Yes. Give me 2 minutes.
Just to give you an idea, as the slide is being played, Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative is an international organization covering the Commonwealth region with a very specific focus on prison reforms, police reforms, right to information, international advocacy, and media rights. You know, it just gives a thing. So out of this, CHRI initiated what we call City Core Group, basically 2 years back, in terms of a collective at the moment of 48 networks and still growing, NGOs, PLV, paralegal volunteers, lawyers, social workers. And one of the focus that we began actually was violence against women and children. You know, it's basically demanding accountability from and responsiveness from police, specifically on issues of gender-based violence in Mumbai. And we are a team at the moment of two, myself and my colleague Donika, who's there in the program. But what is very beautiful is that we connected to 48 networks, hundreds and thousands of volunteers across the city of Mumbai, more specifically focused in the suburbs. Can we go to the next one?
Yeah.
So this was the outreach in terms of the numbers. You must understand all our organizations, as Kunika was earlier mentioning, many of them are not registered. There are some big names, but many of them are not registered, but they are out in terms of the spirit of doing work. So in terms of 25th March to 30th June, in simple terms, we had almost 50,000 or 50,000 packets covering almost 9,000 families. Then domestic violence cases that we guided during this period, we have 55. Then we have YWC as part of our network, which talked about shelter home admissions for women who were in distress. Then we had our groups on the PPE, sanitizers, masks, sanitary napkins. Then we had also our groups conducting COVID camps. Almost 2,350 of the citizens were covered. Then we also covered other segments, transgenders, commercial sex workers. So this was the work that the group did. And, you know, it was a struggle for the group because they had very limited resources. They were generating money to donors, to well-wishers. But we'd also like to thank, yeah, you could go to the next slide. We would also like to thank, essentially speaking, some of the supporters and donors who networked, our groups networked with this group, Center for Social Action, led by Father Mario, Citizens for Justice and Peace, led by Tista, Helping Hands, which was Anil Heber, Bilal Khan and Lara, Khana Chahiye, which was led by Ruben and his team, Project Mumbai, Sishi Joshi, and Santokta Prem Korba Charitable Trust by Apeksha Vora. Now, these were some of the groups besides others with whom our networks work very, very closely. So the indication is very clear that actually speaking, where there is a will, there is a way. And if you are really focused in terms of reaching out, then resources is not a limiting factor, because the city of Mumbai have so many angels, as I call it, that when you give a call, people are willing to get involved. So when the first lockdown was announced on the 24th of March, that was the very next day we got a call from one of our affiliates to say that there are 1,200 families in Kurla. This was Adarsh Foundation, and then you had United Religions of India that was there, and IC Welfare and all, who said that what do we do? Because there are 1,200 families, most of them migrant labor, and many of them domestic workers. All of them suddenly out of work and all, and they will suddenly run out of rations. We had this whole issue about ration card versus no ration cards. And that is when we started connecting with people and getting it down to the level of what it is involved. Still, some of our networks are very much involved. Maybe when we have an open session, we can share more. But what was very important was that a lot of these people, including the Bombay Catholic Sabha, where I'm associated with and its network, really gave themselves totally out, taking so much of risk. And Kunika, I must tell you, unfortunately, as you have rightly said, where we are here not to basically talk down the whole administrative effort of support, but our volunteers, honestly speaking, felt they had a lot of risk factor that they faced, particularly from the police, particularly from the administration, because there was nothing in place in systems and very restrictive aspect of them moving around just to complete the relief work. And in spite of that, we had some of our volunteers. There was one of our volunteers who lost his life because of COVID, but we had also some of the other volunteers who got admitted in the hospital because they tested positive. But the volunteers and the teams really rallied around to be out of the field. And we all drew this inspiration from so many hundreds and thousands of people who were there on the roads, as we call it, in terms of reach out. Two things I want to say it and then maybe conclude and then maybe take it on in the open house discussion. One was the whole aspect of the migrant labor, because as they rightly say, statistics very clearly says, and some of us are also migrants in this city, you know, but we are at a different level altogether. But almost more than 45 to 50% of the citizens in the city today are migrants. And many of them, if you know the travels that they went through in terms of getting back
Yes,
home.
yes, we know all that, yeah.
And
it was very sad.
Yeah, very, very sad and unfortunate. Second part was that the nation and the government says that we have surplus food grains.
But I'm going to come to that, Dolphy. I'm going to come to that. The PDS system.
What's a small intervention and then I'll complete. Surplus food grains, but as P. Sainath, the veteran journalist, would always say, surplus food grains means surplus hunger. That's what I have to say.
That's sad, because that's really that's a sad dichotomy, you know. And the problem is that our PDS system also, in so many years, we haven't been able to correct that. That's a sad thing. We'll come back to that. I'm going to come to Trupti, Dr. Trupti Gilada now, because Trupti, I want to ask you, you know, you have done your work as an infectious disease specialist and you were there, but you had a little child growing in your womb. And you're pregnant, and with the PPE suits, I mean, did you have no fear? Did your family not tell you that, tell us about that, and also tell us about what was your experiences going into the wards, and how you when you went in the first time, just let us know how you felt.
First of all, thank you so much for bringing me on this. It's amazing to see and hear this wonderful work being done. You know, we don't hear all these stories often. There is just so much negativity everywhere, and we don't hear all the positive stories. So yes, thank you so much for doing this great work and bringing all these stories together. Talking about myself, I think as doctors and as our training, there is a basic that we just learn is we are always torn apart between work and family or work and safety. And I think we all learn to handle that stress day in, day out. I agree, this was a very extraordinary situation and an extraordinary disease. Honestly speaking, when we had seen the suffering of and the fight of the COVID patients and their families, we were already seeing it very closely. So though there was that fear that I'm pregnant and I really have to worry about this unborn child, I think I would have been at risk even elsewhere. So it wasn't a point of me being scared of this child who was unborn and there were like people outside who really needed help from doctors. You know, that way each of us could have had, each of us has something that holds us back. So, and definitely the biggest thing is that when the family is supportive, it makes it much easier, because then there is no one to scare you, you know, that what are you doing? Tum kya kar rahi ho? Tumko khud ki nahi padi hai, bacche ki nahi padi hai. So when no one says that to you, it becomes much easier. Then you think that, okay, you're doing the right thing. And then you just hope nothing goes wrong. But we definitely learned a lot of things in the process. It was a new disease. It was a learning curve for us as physicians. There were 3 or 4 striking things other than the clinical aspect of it. I wouldn't like to touch the clinical aspect at all. But what was very new about this disease is there was nothing before this that had created so much fear in the minds of the caregiver. You know, there has been no other disease in our history where the caregiver himself or herself has felt so threatened. And the caregiver can mean anyone. You know, it's not just the doctor or the nurse or the people who are working in the hospital. It's also the family living there. So while they're taking care of their person who's sick, they are at equal risk of falling ill. So I think we all fight that battle every day, especially when we have this COVID patient someone at home who needs that care. And a lot of people do beautiful things with it. I mean, we all fight that fear and we all try to do whatever we can in that situation. The second thing that was very harsh was for the patients inside the ward. We've, you know, in a general routine setup, patients always have a near or dear one next to them throughout the process of the hospital stay. This was one disease where they had to fight it all alone inside,
isolated
for 7 days, sometimes 14 days. And it's extremely stressful because all that they see is these healthcare workers, doctors and nurses who come up in spacesuits. They can't see faces. All that they see is eyes. And all of us really cannot spend too much time because we understand that the more time that we spend with the patient, we put everyone at risk. So we all do our jobs in that little time that we have and we move out. So there is no chatting that we usually do with the patients, you know, ghar pe sab kaisa hai. So there was no random talk, only to the point, and they had no relatives around them. So that stress and that entire mental issue of the disease, I think, is still not being addressed in the way it should.
yes
Besides going through the physical illness, these patients go through an extreme psychological and mental trauma that is being unaddressed, to the point that we are seeing a lot of patients deal with a lot of depression and anxiety, to the extent that there are suicide attempts and there have been suicides in wards, which is very sad.
that's true
The third aspect that I really think needs to be highlighted is the stigma and the fear around this disease. And I think that is something also which is being unaddressed, and the effects of which are really starting to show. And there is just extreme stigma and fear. People do not want to get themselves, even though they are ill and they think that it might be COVID, they will really fear getting themselves tested because they are afraid of how they will be treated by the authorities, by their
that's
neighbors.
true yeah
You know, they will feel that society band ho jayegi, log kya sochenge, and you know, so all these things. And I think we really need to handle these things with a lot of passion and compassion, understanding that at some point in the next 1 year, each of us is going to be touched by this disease. Either we are going to be ill or someone we know is going to be ill with this disease. So we are all going to be in the same boat. So when we see someone today who is going through this, we really need to handle it with a lot of positivity and optimism rather than the fear and the stigma that it has.
Thank you so much. Tripti, stay with us. If you're feeling like you want to get off the thing, just let us know so we can say goodbye. But we have lots more to talk to you. We are not finished as yet. This is just the first round. So now then our next, let's just share a small story. I had traveled to Delhi on the 18th and 19th of March. And when I came back on 20th or 22nd, the day the lockdown was announced, I took a flight back from Delhi. I went into another city and then I came from there. And obviously it was lockdown, and then subsequently then 24th ko full lockdown shuru ho gaya. Though I was tracked down by the CBI or whatever because of the Marcus incident. I want to share this, because it's very important how the whole system was working. So the Marcus incident happened, and so I was tracked down. First I got a call from the police station, then I got a call from the BMC doctor. They said, please cooperate. Then the police one day landed up at my house. In the night, one day, a gentleman came and my son opened the door at 12 o'clock and he said, Mummy is in Mumbai only? He said, yes. He said, okay, tomorrow we are going to come. In the morning, they came with 14, 15 people at my door, 5 or 6 doctors, 5 or 7 police people. A van came inside. My whole society was like, what the hell is happening? And they said, Madam, aap gaye the, Marcus mein gaye the, aap Delhi gaye the. I said, no, main Marcus mein nahi gayi thi, Delhi gayi thi. I had actually gone to Shaheen Bagh to request all those ladies, please get up from here. You're putting yourselves in danger, putting your children in danger. I had actually gone there just for that and some other official work I had. Anyway, I was taken into this lodge. I must say one thing, that the BMC officers and all, they were doing their job, and they were also dealing with an unknown, enemy. They did not know what it's all about. And suddenly they were all put to work. So they took me to this place. I was put in a lodge because there was no hotel. They said, no, we have got these lodges, or we've got these guest houses. So there was a lodge which I was put in right opposite the Andheri station. And it was the Midtown Lodge. It was very nice and clean. But for 24 hours after we were put there were other 10 other people they picked up on the way. I, of course, went in my own car, but they picked up in that van other people all along, some from the slums, some from other buildings. Nobody came to us for 24 hours, and the stress that have I got infected? Have I infected my children? Have I infected my family? That was terrible. And then what if I am infected? What's going to happen? Will I see my family again? That's a terrible thing. What Trupti just touched upon, absolutely, that, you know, that can drive you nuts. It can completely drive you nuts. Also, because they were also dealing with it new, the food, ki khane ka supply kahan se aayega, kaun sa khana aapko mil raha hai. You know, it was really a mess, and it's still, they're still taking baby steps, but they're trying hard, you know. So the next person I'd like to speak to is, I mean, like to share his is Khushru. Khushru, thank you for being on this panel and sharing your positive stories and encouraging everybody, inspiring everybody. Please tell us.
So, good evening, everybody. I am Khushru from Nagpur, and I work for the Indian Railways. And I call myself a sole entrepreneur, not a social entrepreneur. And I run two initiatives. One which I started 20 years back. It's called IndianBloodDonors.com, which connects needy patients with blood donors across the country. And another is Seva Kitchen, which I started about 5 years back, which basically serves meals to patients in hospitals through two initiatives. Again, one is Seva Tiffin and another is Neki Ka Pitara. So it's basically a fridge of kindness, a Visi cooler, which is full 365 days a year with juices, milk, fruits, and it is opened every day in the hospitals, and the patients and are served from it. So in Bombay, we have one in Navi Mumbai, basically in Satya Sai Institute of Medical Sciences. They conduct free surgeries for children. And one in Thane. Thane, we have, it's a school called on Teen Hath Naka Chowk. I don't know if Manjusha must be aware of it. It's called Signal Shala.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, well, my journey in the COVID started exactly on the 21st when I realized that a lot of people will be out of work and they'll be needing help. So, we started very small. We started with masks and distributing masks to the police. And then we started, I realized that going out and giving food will be a difficult perspective. It will be difficult. So I thought that the best thing to do would be to make huge kits, grocery kits, and distributing them. And not only distributing them, but ensuring that the people we serve them for the entire lockdown. Just giving kits and taking pictures and moving out was not my cup of tea. We work with a lot of organizations, especially we work with Sant Nirankari Charitable Trust. They are across the country, and their volunteers, they have communities. They work in these communities. So we started working with them, and we started distributing these kits. As both my initiatives are not NGOs. We don't accept money. We work without money, and we accept only in kind. We don't have a bank account.
So like rations and everything. Like,
yeah, rations and everything. So
then who cooks? Who cooks the food then? You have a kitchen functioning.
We have groups of people. Groups make food. They collect at a location, for example, the hospital, and they distribute the food. Something similar to potlucks. Mm-hmm. We do potlucks. We cook food at our own house. We get together and we eat. So that is what Seva Kitchen does basically.
Okay.
So we started distributing kits, and in distributing kits, we came across situations where women needed help. So we helped deliver a baby in a hospital.
Wow.
The mother, we were actually working in a brick kiln. We were serving kids to 350 families in a brick kiln. So these brick kiln workers come from Chhattisgarh to Nagpur to work during the summer months. They work for 4 months and they go back. So here we found a lady who was expecting, her hemoglobin was quite low. So our team, admitted them to a hospital, admitted her. She was given transfusion. She came back. Then when the time she got her labor pain, she was taken again back to the hospital. And the best part was this lady named her child Seva after
Oh, wow.
Initiative Seva.
How nice.
Again, another incident in Yavatmal where we were serving families of farmers who committed suicide. So we came across a case where a farmer committed suicide a day before his daughter's wedding, and that farmer had just collected 10,000 rupees for his daughter's wedding, which he spent during the entire lockdown, and he had no money for the wedding. So this man committed suicide, and we came to know, and we ensured that we got that girl married. We had 20
wonderful.
20 donors who donated more than 1.5 lakhs, and a wedding was conducted, and they
Isn't
all
it
gave us.
amazing? It's amazing what wonderful people are around us,
Yes.
and what kind and generous people. That's the wonderful thing. And if you notice in this situation, the private citizen has stood up to the occasion.
Every individual, the most important part is, individuals have stood up. And you'll be surprised, till date, we've collected material of more than 1 crore, which is even registered NGOs have not been able to do.
I have a registered NGO, and we've been there for 20 years, and we've probably we only got about 15 to 20 lakhs, and from that we gave about 2,500-3,000 families. We have distributed rations to them, but it's difficult to get money when you're registered, and if your people like you are getting money like that, it's amazing. It's excellent.
And, so the people have been very kind. They've really reached out, and our fight still continues. It's not over. If people think that this is over, people are now, the need has grown more. The people have lost their jobs. From good families, they have lost their jobs.
That's another thing. Yes, I wanted to talk about that also. The lower strata of society, the government takes care of them through distribution system or through welfare schemes. The upper strata don't need help. What happens to the middle class who can't go out and put their hand out and say that I need money? It's a sad part. I'm going to come back to you, Khushru, if you can continue whatever you want to say. Is there something you want to say now, or can I come back to you later?
No, I will just share a small poem because I might move out after some time. So I will share a very small poem, and it's in Hindi. I say this poem every time I speak about Seva.
Maybe I should not let you share it now, otherwise you'll leave. Wait
No,
now.
wait. Okay. I'll wait, but I'll wait.
Okay. You share the poem. No, but please don't leave, because we lots of things to discuss.
Yeah.
Share the poem. Yeah.
Yeah. So the poem says, it's in Hindi. It says, प्रभु कहते हैं, होती आरती बजते शंख, पूजा में सब खोए हैं, मंदिर के बाहर तो देखो, भूखे बच्चे सोए हैं, एक निवाला इनको देना, प्रसाद मुझे चढ़ जाएगा, मेरे दर पर मांगने वाले, तुझे बिन मांगे सब मिल जाएगा.
क्या बात है, क्या बात. हम जिस दिन ये समझ लें कि भगवान पे दूध चढ़ाना इतना इम्पोर्टेंट नहीं है, उस बेचारे भूखे बच्चे को दूध पिलाना इम्पोर्टेंट है, उस दिन हम लोग सब निहाल हो जाएंगे. सच्ची बात है, सच्ची. So can I go to Salma? I'm going to go to Manjusha first, and then I'm coming to Anthony, and then you will be the last and the final speaker, and you'll share your story. Is that okay, Salma?
Okay, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Manjusha, please tell us, what is your journey and your story about the COVID-19 work that you did?
First of all, thank you, ma'am, for this wonderful opportunity, and thank you all my fellow travelers जो इस जर्नी में हम लोग सब साथ है. and I can see smile on everyone's face, because ये काम ही ऐसा है कि when you love unconditional someone, तो उसके साथ में जो मिलता है तो उसको हम लोग शब्दों में बयान नहीं कर सकते। सो आई एम फ्रॉम रॉबिनहुड आर्मी, और रॉबिनहुड आर्मी जैसे मैम ने पहले इंट्रोडक्शन में बताया कि वॉलंटियर बेस्ड और जीरो फंड ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है। यहाँ पे हम लोग का पैसे का कोई लेन देन नहीं होता है। और जैसे कि पहले शुरुआती दिनों में हम लोग रेस्टोरेंट से खाना लेके बचा हुआ खाना लोगों में बांटते थे। बट जब रेस्टोरेंट्स वालों को पता चला कि हम ये सब किस लिए कर रहे हैं, तो वो लोगों ने फ्रेश फूड देना चालू कर दिया। सो ये
वाओ।
बहुत अच्छी बात। तो वो इससे हम लोग को और मोटिवेशन और इंस्पिरेशन मिला कि थोड़ा अगर हम कुछ करें तो बहुत लोग साथ देने को आ जाते हैं। तो वो बहुत वंडरफुल फीलिंग था वो टाइम पे। 2014-15 में ये जर्नी स्टार्ट हुआ है। और अभी मैं बात करूंगी, अगर जो हमारे भारत देश जो है, जहाँ पे खाने पीने की कोई कमी नहीं है, जैसे कि हम बोलते हैं सुजलाम सुफलाम हमारा देश है, और वहां पे अगर कोई बच्चा या कोई भी भूखा सो रहा है तो बहुत ही मतलब दिल दहलाने वाली, अच्छा नहीं लगता है वो, कि ऐसी कंट्री में जहाँ पे सबसे ज्यादा ग्रेन्स है और लोगों को खाने नहीं मिल रहा है। तो सिर्फ प्रॉब्लम्स है लॉजिस्टिक्स की, कि सही जगह से सही जगह पे खाना कैसे पहुंचे। तो जैसे ही रॉबिनहुड आ रही है इसी वजह से चालू हुआ है। और एवरी 10 सेकेंड्स में एक चाइल्ड का डेथ होता है
ड्यू टू
अगर उसको
malnutrition.
खाना नहीं मिलेगा। और 82% ऑफ ऐसा पूरा ऑल ओवर वर्ल्ड, 22% ऑफ हंग्री पीपल लिव इन countries with food surpluses but not for food shortage. So it's very sad part. और जैसे कि अभी कोविड जब स्टार्ट हुआ, पहले कोविड के पहले तो हम लोग ऑन ग्राउंड जाके ही सब एक्टिविटीज करते थे। बट जैसे ही कोविड स्टार्ट हुआ तो सेफ्टी मेजर्स को मद्देनजर रखते हुए हम लोगों ने, हमारे जो सारे वॉलंटियर्स है, तो उन लोगों ने हम लोग को 3 सेक्शंस में सारे काम बांट लिए, और सब टीम वाइज हम लोग ये काम करते हैं। जैसे कि सबसे पहला हम लोगों ने सीनियर पेट्रोलिंग का काम चालू किया, जो सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट है, बिकॉज
सीनियर
जिनके बच्चे
सिटीजन्स के लिए.
सीनियर सिटीजन्स के लिए,
ओके, ग्रेट.
क्योंकि हाँ, क्योंकि वो कई बच्चे उनके जो बाहर गांव रहते हैं या कहीं बाहर गए और उधर स्टक हो गए, क्योंकि पूरा ट्रांसपोर्टेशन सब कुछ बंद हो गया था। तो वो टाइम उनको संभालने वाला या उनको पूछने वाला कोई नहीं था, क्योंकि अभी इतना डर था कि कोई किसी के पास जाने को भी डरता था इनिशियल स्टेज पे। तो जैसे ही हमको कोई रिक्वेस्ट आती थी और कॉल, तो हमारे रॉबिन्स जो ऑल ओवर इंडिया और ऑल ओवर वर्ल्ड जहाँ पे भी कोई रिक्वेस्ट आती थी, तो वो पर्टिकुलर एरिया में जाके उनको मेडिसिन चाहिए, उनको कुछ फूड चाहिए या ग्रोसरीज चाहिए, कुछ भी, तो वो हम लोग थ्रू वेंडर्स अरेंज करा के उनके डोर स्टेप तक हम लोग पहुंचा देते थे।
Yes, that
क्योंकि
the senior citizens was a big casualty in this whole system because a lot of them live alone and they can't go out.
हाँ, और उनका मेडिकेशन सब चालू रहता है, जैसे कि हाई बीपी, थायराइड, डायबिटीज, तो वो भी अवॉइड नहीं कर सकते अगर तो ये सारे इनिशियल स्टेज हमने वहां से शुरू किया। और फिर हमने जो स्लम्स एरिया है या जहाँ पे हम लोग नॉर्मली ऑन ग्राउंड जाके ड्राइव करते थे, वहां पे जाके किट्स देना चालू किया विद मतलब पूरा क्या बोलते सेफ्टी मेजर्स को ये रखते हुए। और ये जैसे जैसे स्टार्ट हुआ, फिर जब मालूम पड़ा कि अब ये लॉकडाउन तो और चलने वाला है, तो और हम लोगों ने बेसिकली इन लोगों को दिया जो जिनका जॉब चला गया था, या जो लोग रोजमर्रा का काम करते हैं,
हाँ,
हाउसमेट्स है।
मनीषा, मुझे एक बात बताओ, आप जो ये कर रहे हैं, जितने भी
हाँ,
आप सब लोग जो कर रहे हैं, मैं ये पूछना चाहती हूँ कि आप लोगों को एक फटीग भी तो महसूस होता होगा कि अब कितना करेंगे, क्योंकि ये अभी इसका अंत नहीं दिख रहा है। तो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल फाइनेंशियल फटीग, फिजिकल फटीग, मतलब एक थकान और एक दिखना कि भाई अब फंड्स कम आ रहे हैं या अब सपोर्ट कम आ रहा है, ऐसा महसूस हुआ है आपको?
यस डेफिनेटली, क्योंकि हम लोग हमेशा कितना भी करते हैं तो भी लगता है कि वी हैव जस्ट डन 1%, अभी तो बहुत करना बाकी है।
लेकिन
तो
अभी कंटिन्यू सपोर्ट आ रहा है?
कंटिन्यू सपोर्ट भी आ रहा है, जैसे
Okay.
जैसे क्योंकि लोग अवेयर हो रहे हैं, और लोग जब देखते हैं कि कितने सारे लोग एनजीओ या जो भी वॉलंटियर्स इतना मेहनत ले रहे हैं, तो अगर वो लोग अपना टाइम नहीं दे पाते तो वो लोग कोई भी तरीके से हम लोग को हेल्प आउट करते हैं कि मतलब जो भी टीम में हेल्प चाहिए तो वो लोग बोलते हैं कि हम हेल्प कर देंगे। तो ऐसी बहुत जगह से रिस्पॉन्स भी अच्छा आता है, तो करने को और मन करता है कि नहीं करना चाहिए। और जब बाहर
ग्रेट.
देखते हैं सबका प्रॉब्लम्स, तो ऐसा नहीं लगता कि इसको इग्नोर करके बस हम हमारी लाइफ जिए।
आप अपने घर के किचन के बारे में सोचते हैं?
डेफिनेटली, तो सोचना ही पड़ता है।
गुड।
वो तो
नहीं नहीं,
सोचना ही
और
पड़ता है।
कहीं ना कहीं मैंने देखा है कि जब आप अच्छा काम करते हैं तो आपकी प्रॉब्लम्स अपने आप भगवान सॉल्व कर देता है, या जो भी वो एनर्जी है। कुछ लोग बोलते हैं भगवान, कुछ मानते नहीं, लेकिन that power above does something to solve your problems.
जब
Yes,
बोलते हैं ना कि यू हील अदर्स देन यू विल गेट ऑटोमेटिकली हील्ड।
that's true. Yes,
या
that's true.
तो वो
So,
होता ही है। और
thank you.
इस दौरान बाद में हम लोगों ने 2-3 एक्सपीरियंसेस बहुत अच्छे हुए जो मैं शेयर करना चाहूंगी। एक लेडी थी जो रेलवे स्टेशन पे बैंगल्स वगैरह बेचती है, तो उनको बहुत राशन की जरूरत थी क्योंकि उनके पास खाना, उनका घर भी नहीं है, कुछ नहीं है। तो जब हम लोगों ने उनको खाना वगैरह सब हेल्प आउट किया, तो वो इतनी खुश हुई, 10-15 मिनट हमको रुका के हमसे बात किया, उसकी पूरी फैमिली के बारे में बताया, एंड शी वाज सो हैप्पी। और पूरा एंटायर टीम को मेरा थैंक यू बोलना। और वो जब स्माइल देखते हैं ना, तो इट इज लाइक
Very
कि
satisfying.
वेरी वेरी सेटिस्फाइंग, एकदम हार्ट टचिंग होता है।
Yes, absolutely.
और एक एक्सपीरियंस शेयर करना चाहूंगी। प्लम्बर जो हमारे घर में काम करने आते हैं, प्लम्बर जो, या कोई भी साइट वर्कर, तो वो एक बंदे को बहुत जरूरत थी राशन की। तो उनको जब हम लोगों ने राशन प्रोवाइड किया, तो वो मतलब उसको इतना फील हुआ कि उसने बोला, मैम आप और आपकी टीम में किसी को भी कभी भी कोई भी प्लम्बिंग का काम हो मुझे बता
How
देना, मैं आ जाऊंगा।
how sweet.
तो मतलब उनका
There's
एक
a lot of gratitude, and कहीं ना कहीं मुझे लगता है कि जब वो आपको थैंक यू बोलते हैं ना, जैसे क्योंकि जब राशन बांटना था, हम लोग 8 स्कूल्स में काम करते हैं, my NGO, and it's called CHIP, and we got funds, we made ration kits, और हमने क्या किया कि हमारे स्कूल के जितने बच्चे थे उस BMC स्कूल में, उनके लिस्ट हमने निकाले। तो सारे लिस्ट टीचर्स के साथ मिलके निकाले, उनको फोन किया, उनको बुलाया और उनको राशंस दिए। एंड इट वाज सिस्टमैटिक। लकीली हमारे साथ बीएमसी ने हमको हेल्प किया कि भाई आप स्कूल में बांटो, नहीं तो थोड़ा सा क्योटिक हो जाता है। बट हम लोग जब बांट रहे थे ना, एक तो you feel so good that you are in a position that you can help, that is one thing, but at the same time you feel so sad that why is it that they have to come and ask like this, it is this is one of the outcomes of this COVID-19, which none of us could avoid, and unfortunately I'm going to go to now Anthony. Please tell us your story, and you are from the past pupils of St. Dominic School.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, first of all, ma'am, for the
Thank
lovely introduction, and being a part of this panel. Automatically, the Josh is a little higher. Okay. Everybody has a story. So does we as past people. So past people is basically an ex-student body of our school, and Don Bosco's is across in India. And one of our important core agenda for any of our activities is giving back to the society. Believe me, we just before a week before COVID, we just finished one project for the HIV patient, and we were done. We were like, okay, this is the end. Now let's take a break. And suddenly, when COVID came in, we had absolutely zero clue how will we go about things. Because first of all, it is a very dangerous mission, and we were advised not to go out. But we were like, no, let's do something. And it all started. I called up my father, the priest, and I said, Father, let's do something. We just cannot sit. And the first day we distributed around some 200 meals. We just ordered from a local. Fortunately, there was one shop which was open, and we cooked meals and we just distributed. And that's how the drive started. Then we thought that it's not going to be just cooking 200, 300 meals. This is going to be a huge task. And thankfully, by God's grace, we managed to get one food partner. This gentleman happened to be an ex-student of our school from Don Bosco, Kolkata, KBN Foundation. This has come in the press as well. He started this initiative in Bangalore along with people, all top-notch guns, and that's how they partnered with us in Mumbai. Along with them, then came Annamitra Foundation. These two were our largest food partners. And then we entered the corporate sector, and CRISIL gave us meals. So close to 2.5, 3 months, we had these three people who used to daily give us 15,000 meals average,
Wow.
which we started distributing from 10 volunteers, we went to 20 to 30, and believe me, we are close to 300 volunteers as we just
So
speak.
you would physically go and distribute your food to the
Yeah.
places,
Yes,
all of you?
yes,
Okay.
yes. We made teams because it was not one person job. We made teams. We used resources of our other Don Bosco houses. We are very thankful to the religious nuns, Canossa High School. We share our compound with them, and initial drive started from there, and that's how the meals started. And till date, as you mentioned during the introduction speech, in the next couple of days we'll be reaching 10 lakh meals. We
Tomorrow,
still
that's
have
10 July. You've written 10 July. That's tomorrow.
yeah.
Amazing, amazing.
We will be completing 100 days on ground zero in the next 3 days.
So is there some experience you would like to share? Like everybody has some story to tell in this time. Anything?
Yeah, there are a lot of stories, but I would like to keep one story, just one story, because if I go on, it'll be 10 o'clock, So one story is this one boy, a little boy, 3 years old, and he used to stay underneath the bridge in Marol. And every day when we used to go there, my volunteers would tell me that this boy used to wait from morning, कि खाना कब आएगा, खाना कब आएगा, खाना कब आएगा. And the smile on his face, literally, it was like, yes, we have to make sure that the food reaches on time. Sometimes, the transportation or food used to come a little late, but that is one experience that I would like to share. The second experience is, giving back to the society. Some of our volunteers who are in Don Bosco, Vadala, they are ex-street children, and they're born and brought up in our
Oh my God, my
schools.
hair standing, huh?
And these guys were the ones who were serving in this Elphiston belt on the railway tracks for almost like a month. These are ex-students of the same institute of us in Vadala, and they were the ones. So they know what is hunger. So for them, it is like we know what is hunger, and they were the ones who were stepping out and this thing. And every day we were like, the first thing was prayer. Very, very important. Our fathers, nuns used to pray that guys, you all be safe, you all be safe. Because, social distancing is still a problem today. You carry a chocolate today, 10 people will come to you. So you have to be very careful how things go.
And you can't even, you don't want to say no, and some people go empty-handed. You feel so terrible. Yes.
Correct.
Thank you. I just wanted to share something that I started my social work journey with Trupti's father, Dr. I.S. Gilada. I started out when I was a newcomer in the film industry, 1987, when Dr. Saab and there were a team of doctors, and they were talking about, sensitizing people about HIV, AIDS. And so I joined that fight against AIDS at that very young age. And at that point also, I used to cry. And even today, I get tears in my eyes. And Dr. Saab used to say to me, ऐसे कैसे चलेगा कुनिका जी, आप रोएंगे तो सोशल वर्क मत कीजिए, चले जाइए, सोशल वर्क कच्चे दिल वालों के लिए नहीं है. But I still when I meet Dr. Saab, he says, आप अभी भी वैसे ही है. So, it just touches me every time I hear. I just can't control myself. These stories that you all are telling me, especially about the little boy who was waiting for food, and the children from Vadala who are giving back to society, and so many other lovely things that we've heard today. Salma, it's you now. Thank you so much for patiently waiting. I wanted to make it one guy, one girl, one guy, one girl, so that it's fair. And so unfortunately, you ended up being the last one. So please tell me.
Perfectly okay, ma'am. I'm the youngest one, so it's always good. So first of all, a big thank you to you for recognizing our work, bringing us on this platform to tell.
In fact, you all deserve much more.
Yes, we are just in numbers, but the people around that they were working are in millions. I think अगर ये लोग सड़क पे आके काम नहीं करते तो शायद आज पता नहीं देश का हाल क्या होता. So I started working with my cause from the tender age of 10, as mentioned, and the reason working for social causes, I lost my father at a very young age, and I was an average child in school terms, and receiving support was like a task for an average student. Again, going to a college, scoring good marks over there, ranking highest marks also, still I didn't receive any support. So the question was कि support मिलेगा किसको, ना average को ना scholar को, तो मिलना किसको है. So got to know with working with various NGOs, working voluntarily. Again, I got to know कि सबके criterias होते हैं. There are again lucky draws के इनका नाम डाला जाएगा, जिसका निकलेगा उसको मिलेगा. Of course, because there are thousands of people who are waiting in line, so सबको मिलना तो मुश्किल ही है. तो उन्होंने एक नया वे आउट निकाला कि लकी ड्रॉज होगा तो being a scholar also support nahi mila. So 2014-15 I started with my own project called as Umeed, where we started supporting average students because that was the time when I completed my graduation, and supporting two students with their educational fees, and going further we felt just giving away fees is not enough. उनको coaching देना भी बहुत जरूरी है. And I'm very happy to share the experience because the two students whom we supported were the dropout students, and within 2 years they gave their 10th standard, and the child who was a failure has left the school, has scored 82%. So
Oh,
that was the biggest achievement for me, that ये बच्चे एवरेज है ही नहीं ना, इनमें ऐसा कुछ है कि ये नहीं पढ़ सकते, ये पढ़ सकते, बस इन्हें गाइडेंस की जरूरत है. And that was the time where I took teaching as my profession. I never wanted to go into it, but then looking into all these things, I took teaching as my profession. And again, social media has helped on a big way. When we appeal to people, people has come forward, and from two children we reached out to thousands of children for education. And giving my bit, I'm giving them free coaching. And of course there are many more social champions who join hand, because thousands को free coaching देना मेरे अकेले बस की बात नहीं है, but of course बहुत सारे लोग join हुए और मैं ये चीज कर पाई. Coming to COVID-19, the day it was lockdown, उससे पहले जो trial lockdown था एक दिन का, जो daily wages
22
होते
तारीख
हैं,
को 22 तारीख
एग्जैक्टली. सो जो डेली वेजेस है उनके लिए ये बहुत बड़ा प्रॉब्लम था. फर्स्ट डे जो लॉकडाउन था उन्होंने किसी तरह मैनेज कर लिया, बिकॉज जो वो अर्न करते हैं वही वो स्पेंड करते हैं. इट इज नॉट कि उनके पास कुछ सेविंग है. तो जो बच्चों को हम सपोर्ट करते हैं उनमें से एक बच्ची, उसके फादर कुछ लास्ट ईयर ही पास्ड अवे, and in this year in January even her mother passed away. And now she had her granny जो flowers sell कर रहे हैं, and since it was a lockdown she was unable to sell the flowers and she had no money in her hand. This girl, she came running because she had 1.5-year-old boy, उसका छोटा भाई, जिसके लिए उसे मिल्क चाहिए था, and granny was unable to afford it. This small little girl, she walked down almost 2.5 kilometers and she came down to my place for asking for milk. And this girl is not so elder, she is just 6 years old, which really touched me कि 6 साल की बच्ची इतना वॉक करते हुए सिर्फ मिल्क के लिए, वो भी रात के 9 बजे मेरे घर पर आ रही कि मेरे भाई ने सुबह से दूध नहीं पिया. And I just posted this on Facebook that was this lockdown a planned thing? What will these people do actually? अगर ये daily wages के लिए इतना बड़ा problem है, क्या होगा आगे, क्या होगा? And we never know. We were not at all planned for this lockdown, and we didn't knew that it will go for so long. We just started appealing to people and the friends who are connected, because so far all are my individual donors who support me, who work into corporates and all. They started saying, Salma, instead, as I always believe in my life, instead I sit and complain to God that why always me? Let's do something that others don't complain. That is how I started Umeed, कि मुझे support नहीं मिला, कोई नहीं, लेकिन कोई और बच्चा ऐसे खड़े ना हो जो complain करे. So let's, instead of complaining, let's do something. That is always an inspiration and motivation from my dad. He has always taught me that. Of course, my mom too.
So
इस बच्चे के लिए हमने
you started getting funds through social media. Help
Yes,
through
we
social
started
media.
getting the funds from social media, and then giving away the milk. Then we had almost 1,500 families whom we had already supported for education. So we thought, let's do something for them because they are known to us. We know them कि इनके situation क्या है. ये सारे बच्चे जो है ये single parent child है, या फिर वो अपने grannies के साथ रह रहे हैं, grandfathers के साथ रह रहे हैं. Either they are orphan. So we know this family, what are they and what are they going through. We started appealing on social media, and we received the support from them. And then there was a point that we thought कि why not just we alone? Instead of saying I doing it, मैंने ये किया, let's make a chain. We always work in a bigger way. So we started connecting dots into our own areas. Malbini is the second largest slum Asia in Mumbai. So after Dharavi, it's Malbini. Over here, जितना करो कम पड़ता है. So we thought बहुत सारे और भी social groups है, youth groups है, and to be very surprised, the people who have never worked for any cause has came out and they have started working. they said हम community kitchen का खाना बना सकते हैं, हम ये कर सकते हैं. People have took a lead. That is the biggest thing. Otherwise, working for cause, no, very rarely people coming in this period coming out is again a big question mark. Everyone has their own thing, and parents, of course, they have a thing कि मेरा बच्चा बाहर जाएगा, because being I have my mother, so she started questioning me कि तुम बाहर जाओगी, मेरा क्या होगा, because news of course was saying this कि आप बाहर निकलोगे खतरा है, ये हो जाएगा, वो हो जाएगा.
And it's going to be for a long haul. It's not going to be a short. I mean, this is
exactly.
Not. So thank you, Salma, for sharing that. I want to go to Dr. Gilada, Dr. Trupti. Tell me one thing, that this is not going to end here. It's going to be a long journey. What is it that you expect the government to do, or what is it that you feel that our medical system lacks, that where we can, because I don't think that when this phase 2 or phase 3 that they keep saying, and they're saying the virus keeps changing its strain, I don't think that we're going to have enough beds, enough of facilities. Remdesivir, people have to, I'm reading on social media that when you need Remdesivir, you have to approaching their connections, लगा रहे हैं लोग Remdesivir के लिए. ये कैसे चलेगा इस तरह से? Tell us, what is it that you expect from the medical system, I mean from the government for the medical system, and how can we do this and better this?
So I think the most important thing to understand is that the healthcare system of any country never changes overnight. And unfortunately, this is only an evidence of how little we've invested in health and education, which are the most important things. And that's the reason why we actually face this entire disaster of having overburdened health systems during this epidemic. Having said that, I think over the last, maybe not over like all the last 4 months, but over the last 1.5, 2 months, we definitely have seen the healthcare systems improve, both in the public and the private sector. And we hope that in the times to come, it'll only get better. But I think that that's only the public hospitals and the private hospitals, but we will all have to play a very major role, understanding that this epidemic is not going to end soon. It's going to go on probably for a year, probably longer. We don't even know whether we're going to have a vaccine soon or no. It's all of us who will have to come in at different things. It's not just prevention, but making sure, like all these stories about, we are only thinking about COVID. What we've also seen in clinics and in hospitals is that there is a big chunk of non-COVID cases who suffered tremendously during lockdowns. Who've been unable to get to hospitals because of inaccessibility, who've been unable to get medicines on time, and we are probably not taking cognizance of that fact yet. There have been cancer patients who should have probably been treated 3 months back, but because they haven't received treatment in these 3 months, something that was treatable has gone untreatable.
Yes, and diabetes and kidney transfusions and.
Yeah, so talking about the medical care, it's not just the COVID. COVID has to become one other disease to that entire basket of diseases we deal with. Obviously, it has its special preventive modalities that we all need to take care of. But we will have to start shifting our focus on all the patients and make sure that we give holistic care to all these patients.
What about the beds, Dr. Gilada? What about the beds? Are we going to have enough beds if suddenly there's a spike? I mean, the ventilators, the ICU beds, because there are hospitals being opened every day. The other day,
it's very sad. Yeah. We've never ever in our history, our medical history, we literally during at least maybe 1 month ago, we were literally choosing this एक ventilator available hai, and there are 3 patients. Who do I use this ventilator for?
Oh God.
And doctors don't need, and we just hate playing God like this, It's like, I really don't want to decide this. Like, how do I leave a 70-year-old just because there's another 40-year-old? But we've all had to make these tough choices, and it's extremely stressful. So I think that it has definitely improved, but I agree that if there is a spike, those days will come back again. Bombay saw it, but the tier 2, tier 3 cities are seeing it now. So, this exact situation that we saw in Bombay is now happening in other cities, and they are seeing overfull hospitals, overfull beds, people, dying at home, not even knowing what's happening. So it's unfortunate. We will just have to you know, as advocates of public health, have to say and impress upon the governments and the authorities repeatedly that you really need to invest in health,
Yes.
both short term and long term.
Vis-a-vis investing in Hindutva and isko maro, usko kato. I tell you, and when is the public going to wake up? That's what my biggest concern is. Okay, Khushru
No,
has already...
our elections should actually be fought on issues like these, you know.
PDS system,
like,
education,
education,
healthcare.
health. You know, unless we don't demand it, this is what we get. We need to start demanding good health system.
Absolutely right. You're absolutely. So Khushru has to leave, but I just didn't want him to leave without me saying bye to him. But Khushru, would you like to say before you leave anything, you know, to us, before you leave us and go for your other meeting? Would you like to say something? You have to unmute yourself.
I would like to say, as I just heard Dr. Baheti, kudos to the frontline medical staff, to the frontline police for what they have done for our country. And of course, the thousands and lakhs of individuals, NGOs, agar wo na hote, so things would have been really bad. I think we should blame the government aisa, government waisa.
No, not any particular government.
Yeah.
Now 70 years ke government ki baat kar rahi hu. 70.
So, you know, my thing is ki, as Dr. Gilada said, ki situation kabhi aaya nahi. So maybe they were not prepared for it. Because finally, hum log hi hai, we are the government.
No, but Khushru, our percentage of healthcare that we spend in our whole budget, if you see it's not even 2% of our whole budget of the country.
Yes. I agree that we were not prepared for this, but this is exactly what health preparedness for a country means, you know.
Yes.
So I mean, even if we were prepared, we were not.
Abhi, you know, this is a time when we should stop blaming and, you know, as you rightly said, negativity nahi rehna chahiye. We should have positivity, and this is the time when, you know, we should all work together.
No,
so
absolutely.
This is one thing.
The idea is not about blaming. We're talking about the way forward.
And this is what I have seen, that this time, irrespective of NGOs, ne to NGOs का क्या रहता है? मेरा banner रहना चाहिए, मेरा ये रहना चाहिए. हमने ये बार सेवा किचन में we said, anybody asks us, हमको आपका banner लगाना है? I said नहीं, हमारा banner ही नहीं है. हम लोग banner के बिना काम करते हैं. हमारे T-shirt नहीं है, हमारे banners नहीं है. I said we just work like that. So a good thing to be seen was that NGOs came together, as rightly Mr. D'Souza said, you know, so many people joined. Project Mumbai has done an awesome job. I know the founder personally, Shishir Joshi. They have done a fantastic job, and उन्होंने देखा नहीं कि कौन क्या कर रहा है, बस काम करना है, and that is what matters. That is what finally matters.
Yes, but we must as citizens demand for a better healthcare system, education system. Even the parents who are suffering, who cannot pay fees today. I mean, the education institutions are literally extorting money. So there's so many other things. But of course, now today we are talking about positive stories and all the positive people who've done great work. So thank you so much.
So much salam to all of you, and especially the doctor. My heart goes out to her, and I wish you well, wish your child well, and I'm sure your child will be with like you, because वो गुण अभी से ही, you know.
अरे जब उनके फादर HIV की जब लड़ाई जब उन्होंने शुरू की थी तो लोग उनको क्या क्या कहते थे. Well, he used to go to the red light area. We used to go to jails, and Dr. Saab was the front runner on this, you know.
Yes.
And she used their two sisters. They used to come with Dr. Saab and talk to patients and tell them and talk to people about sensitizing them that it's all the stigmas which were associated. It's amazing. So they've been brought up in that way, you know. It's amazing. Yes.
So all the best to all of you.
All the best to you. Thank you so much for
all
doing
the best.
Very inspiring. Take care. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much, Khushru. Thank you for being part of this.
All the
Dolphy, I'm going to come to you now. Is there something that you would, like just add to this whole positivity, this whole introspection that we are talking about? What is it that, because we've seen the police also, and you worked a lot with the police reforms and human rights, and there are a lot of, human rights violations that happened here, but we'll not get into that. I want to ask you that when the police was there working in front, there's so many police officers, police constables that we've lost. we don't hear any. Are they going to get compensation? Are we going to pay the BMC workers, the doctors, the nurses? Are we going to give them more money, some recognition, some kind of, what is it that we're going to do for them, for all that that they've done in an unprecedented situation?
Numbers are not coming, but I have heard that almost more than 3,500 police personnel have lost their lives and also been indirectly affected in terms of their families and other things.
In Maharashtra?
In Maharashtra. I'm just talking about Maharashtra at the moment. So you have the pros and cons. One is the question of learning lessons. As Dr. Baheti said, we don't learn lessons. These were calamities which we are not forecasted, okay? But we never learn lessons. And I'll give you an example. For instance, the example of the state of Kerala or the example of state of Orissa. Now, what were the best practices that they adopted because they had experienced different categories of pandemics? We don't do that. We don't exchange ideas in terms of how do you build it on. We don't exchange the priorities in terms of what should be there as part of the holistic health services between privatization and government hospitals. All those things put together, there's a big muddle, and that big muddle is us as citizens. I always believe campaign begins with us, because politicians, ministers will come and go. Okay, this is nothing to do with any particular political formation or a political party or a government. Important is how the citizens assert themselves to demand, let's say, better health services or demand, as we say, better policing. For instance, CHRI did a study during the pandemic only for a month, and we filed a complaint with the National Human Rights Commission of almost 15 alleged custodial deaths all over the country because of the pandemic and the result of the police. Now, this is based only on press reports, okay? And we filed a petition, and now they have served notices to the state. The whole question comes in is that how do we as citizens personally...
Sorry, Dolphy, how does COVID come into the custodial death? How does that string around?
Simple. You had if you looked at it, roadside violence. Mm-hmm. You had the case in Surat, mm-hmm, in terms of workers who want to travel back.
Yes.
You got my point, no? Mm-hmm. So when they went to the police station, it's an element of helplessness, okay? So how do you deal with that situation? So if, let's say, I raise my voice because I am helpless, so what do the police do is they get into this whole element of violence. But in case of Surat, it was very exceptional that they not only hit them there, but they also landed up in their makeshift homes, bashed them up there, picked them up, brought them to the police station, bashed them out. One of them lost his life.
Yeah, they probably thought that if they let this go out of hand, it might become a situation in this.
The whole question comes in is this the way that we need to deal with this situation? The pandemic cannot be dealt with in terms of violence. And I can understand a lot of load, unfortunately, was put on the police to enforce it without giving them guidelines in terms of what mechanisms and methods that they need to follow. So these are things which need to be, so now we have learning lessons in terms of, in fact, CHRI came with a 7-point agenda in terms of policing the right way during pandemic. Important thing is, are they willing to listen? We are willing to dialogue with them. Important is whether it is the hospitals or the holistic health systems, or whether it is the other aspects of policing, or let's say the demands for better policing. I personally feel that the citizens need to evaluate, study, and make an agenda for action in terms of putting pressure to implement that. For instance, doctor very clearly said that between the COVID and the non-COVID people suffered the most because hospitals, everything, nobody actually knew sense of direction that if you have a problem, what do you do?
Yes.
Where do you go? What is the nodal agency? What is your helpline? Nothing seemed to work. So at the end of the day, I personally believe at the end of the day, networks, NGOs, good, well-meaning people are not to be involved. Some of them are distinguished panelists here, but not to be involved in outreach. There could have been a greater disaster of people dying more of hunger and isolation. Isolation is the most important thing. I'll give you an example. In one of our groups, we have United Religious Initiative, which is part of the CC group. They were doing the disbursement in terms of dry rations and all, etc., etc. And they found one very elderly gentleman. He must have been almost 85 plus. And then they spoke to him. They told him, where have you come? And it was absolutely a very emotional thing. They said that मेरे घर पे मेरे 2 लड़के हैं, grown up लड़के हैं और उनकी बीवियां हैं, लेकिन मुझे रोज धमकी देके बोलते हैं बाहर जाओ और खाना लेके आओ. Kunika, this is happening because I'm a witness to a couple of scenes like this when you start a conversation. So you come to that level, and I know for sure that this is not going to go away in the next 2 months or 3 months. So what do you really do to those people who are daily wage earners? Now, for instance, I'll give you an example. In Mumbai, only 3% are in the organized sector of work, labor force. 97% are in the unorganized sector, in terms of daily wage earners, domestic workers. Now, even now, house workers for that matter, some of the society managing committees have literally become bullies. They have got their, in spite of the fact that the cooperative minister has come down very strongly to say that now you cannot prevent house workers who want to work in the homes to come in. How are they going to survive? Because people have stopped paying them.
And even the people who are paying, they also have some issues because they don't have jobs and they have fees to pay. So yeah.
I agree that we all have our own problems.
Yes.
So, but if they want to work, then the housing society say नहीं हम allow नहीं करेंगे.
Because every feels कि बंद हो जाएगा. अरे हमारे साथ भी बहुत ये discussion हुआ हमारी society में, बहुत लड़ाई झगड़ा करना पड़ा. Finally, we've allowed now since the last few days.
But you know one thing, in Pune, somebody did that and a FIR was lodged against their office bearer. So see the question, and this is where, as you rightly said, if doctors are losing their lives in the process of service, policemen are losing lives in the process of service, how do we as citizens articulate to see that they are adequately, at least monetarily compensated with other benefits from the state?
Absolutely.
This is always the case. State announces it will give so many things, and at the end of the day, nothing is given because they have forgotten the whole thing, and another pandemic will happen after another 6 months.
Or they'll create the statue which will cost 30,000 crores. Or they will create all these things. These are useless
this is where
things.
The outreach, while we continue outreach, this is also where we will have, all of us will have to take responsibility that if the state, either if it has not committed, then raise a voice to give compensation, adequate compensation, which is the critical thing for all frontline people who have taken the butt of fighting this disease.
No, and I love the fact that when Kerala sent their nurses here, they specifically said our nurses will be paid 80,000 rupees a month. I loved it that they stood up for them. The doctors will be paid so much. The nurses, they will be given. See how they respect and look at how they fought the whole thing. The whole pandemic.
They don't want to learn now. That's what I'm saying, Kunika. The ego problem is that those best practices. See, every state has its own best practices on every single thing. Particularly Kerala had these best practices on the whole question of handling pandemics.
Yes, yeah, they already had experienced it for things.
But
and if you want to come in, please come in. This is now an open forum, and because we just have another 15-20 minutes, anybody wants to say something, please, आप लोग बोलिए जिसको जो बोलना है. Please tell us, share. Trupti, Salma, Anthony, Manjusha, anything you'd like to share, anything you'd like to add on to.
मैं एक कहानी जरूर बताना चाहूंगी. एक अंकल थे, उनको हम लोग के पास रिक्वेस्ट आई उनको कि उनके पास राशन नहीं है, मतलब जो कंप्लीट एरिया की रिक्वेस्ट आई थी. सो व्हेन हम लोगों ने उनको राशन देने के लिए गए तो उन्होंने हमको इतना ही बोला कि थोड़ा बहुत तो हमारे पास है भगवान की दया से, तो जिनके पास बिल्कुल भी नहीं है ना, प्लीज आप उनको हेल्प करिए.
हाउ नाइस.
तो मतलब दिस इज वेरी हार्ट टचिंग कि जिनके पास थोड़ा बहुत है तो उनको भी इसका वैल्यू पता है कि जिसके पास नहीं है तो उनको देना प्रायोरिटी कैसे करना.
इसको कहते हैं कमाल का. प्राइवेट सिटीजंस हैव शोन अमेजिंग कैरेक्टर एट दिस टाइम. दिस इज सो ब्यूटीफुल.
करेक्ट. और अभी आगे हम लोग का मिशन 30 मिलियन स्टार्ट हुआ है 1 जुलाई से till 15th August. So we are serving 30 millions
All the best to
across
you.
10 countries. Across 10 countries.
All the
representing.
best to you. All the best to you. Salma, Anthony, Dolphy, you were saying something?
Yeah. In this case, now even recipients of the outreach, we had cases in Goregaon when our team members, the URI, they ran short of rations. You had neighbors, people who had no food in their houses, but some of them had got the ration kit to tell the volunteers, you don't worry, when you get your kids to come, but we will share our food with all of us.
Oh, how
Remarkable.
nice. How
Nobody was hoarding in the sense to say that, okay, I will keep this and I'll not. It was open in terms of sharing. So that
the only people who were hoarding were the ration shop Malik. I mean, there was like people were saying they would go and they would say ration nahi hai, and the government is saying बहुत ration hai, हमने सब ration shop में दे दिया, लेकिन जब देखो तो ration shop वाला बोलता नहीं कोई ration नहीं आया. समझ नहीं आता कि कौन
I will interrupt you. थाने चैप्टर की अगर मैं स्पेसिफिकली बात करूं तो हम लोग को ये इसमें बहुत अच्छा एक्सपीरियंस रहा, क्योंकि बहुत सारे रेशन ऑफिसर्स जो है वो बहुत कोऑपरेटिव थे और सिर्फ बोलते थे कि बस उनको राशन कार्ड लेके भेज दीजिए. जो भी बहुत लोगों को गवर्नमेंट स्कीम्स भी पता नहीं होती है, तो उनके बारे में भी हम लोगों ने अवेयरनेस थ्रू आउट दिस, ये भी हम लोग को मौका मिला कि किसके पास आधार कार्ड है तो वो लिंकअप कैसे होता है, या जो भी गवर्नमेंट पॉलिसीज है जो बहुत लोगों को पता नहीं है,
मगर
तो वो भी हम लोगों ने अवेयर करो.
मंजूषा जी, यहाँ पे ना एक थोड़ा सा फ्लॉड है सिस्टम. जो माइग्रेंट वर्कर्स होते हैं, जो यूपी, बिहार, मध्य प्रदेश से आते हैं, उनके अपने घर नहीं होते. अपने घर नहीं होते तो राशन कार्ड नहीं होता है. अब आप आधार कार्ड बनाए हैं तो आधार कार्ड के बेसिस पे दे दीजिए ना राशन. अब राशन कार्ड नहीं है
अभी गवर्नमेंट ने चालू कर दिया है वो, तो आधार कार्ड के बेस पे भी वो लिंक हो जाता है अकाउंट, तो वो बेसिस पे आप कहाँ पे भी रहे, वन कार्ड वन इंडिया बोलते हैं ना जैसे,
और मुझे तो
वैसे स्टार्ट हो गया है अभी.
I was listening to one NDTV interview with Pranay Roy and Abhijit, the gentleman who won the Nobel Prize recently.
Yeah.
He was saying that
Banerjee.
Abhijit Banerjee, yes. He was saying feed the people. You have granaries full, and हमारा grain अक्सर हर साल में सड़ जाता है. Feed the people, print new money. Who's there to check you? Just do it and just give everybody money. And he was saying it's not going to harm you all if you do this. And I just hope that, we don't, इस बार I just hope I don't see pictures at the end of the year जहाँ पे ration granary में सड़ रहा है, चूहे खा रहे हैं. That will be really very heart-wrenching, if you see that.
So that's happening, Kunika.
I know.
That's why Sainath very clearly in his opening remarks, he says that food surplus means hunger, surplus of hunger. Right. It's very, very clear. So there is absolutely a non-application of mine only because you are not there who's hungry. If you realize you don't have a meal in a day, even for the lunch, or you miss the dinner also, you will know what hunger is.
You know, I'm telling you, I just miss my time of food and I get so irritable. And then sometimes I'm not close to my food and I tell myself, no, think of the people who don't have, that's how I tell myself. But it can be and can you imagine people don't eat for 3 days? We saw migrant workers who were not even, they were crying. And they were saying, मैंने कुछ नहीं खाया 3 दिन से. It is really sad. But thanks to people like you. Anthony, you want to say something because you've been silent and listening? Please say something because now we're reaching to the end of ours. I don't want you to go away thinking, "Arey, mujhe ye kehna tha."
No. So one more experience is during the Ramadan, and that's why we were distributing food and suddenly a few of them came, sir, शाम के लिए कुछ बंदोबस्त करो because आप जो सवेरे देते हो वही हम गरम करके शाम को खाते हैं. And we were so disturbed with that, and that's where we reached out to CRISIL, and CRISIL is another food partner of us, and they started this evening meal. And believe me, we reserved those meals only for the Muslim community towards Chandivli, Goregaon, and these people are very touched. They're like, okay, chalo, abhi humko sham ko bhi khana milte. That was a very tough time because many food partners were only giving meals in the morning, and these guys had option to either have it, immediately, which they couldn't because of the fast. And they were to use the same meals in the evening.
That is a tough time for me. And I saw in Millat Nagar, हमारे area में Millat Nagar पास में है, and I saw our police from Oshiwara police station going and distributing fruits and from their own pockets. They were distributing almost for like 15 days. I've seen that. And then people came forward and they started giving money to this, and then, a lot of other organizations. So it was a beautiful thing to see this, the way, everybody was so united and fantastic. Salma?
Even I had a lovely experience to share, ma'am, where we visited to slums. There were some interior slum peoples where, they were surviving, the migrants, they were just surviving on sugar and water. And the moment when we reached with the food were over there, and they were like, the smile, the tears that they got from their eyes, and it was so heart touching that there's someone to look after us and receiving the food. I think each one of us had this lovely experience when we, after helping someone, when you see the beautiful smile and the gesture that they showed to you, in spite they having nothing, still they say कि आप हमारे साथ खाइए ना, आप भी तो दौड़ रहे हो, आप भी रमजान के महीने में दौड़ रहे हो, पानी पी लीजिए. The way they show the gesture is really very heart touching moment with us, and I think we all, the social workers or the NGOs, are incomplete without our donors and the other NGOs who has collaborated with us. As sir rightly said, कि हम सब banners के बगैर work कर रहे थे और हम सबको लोगों ने सपोर्ट किया है, और जो बड़े बड़े एनजीओज है उन्होंने टाई अप करने का एक कोलैबोरेशन किया, like Sishil sir and many more like WMO and much more organizations who has tied up with us and said ki we will work together. It has given us a strong belief and a motivation that yes, we can keep going, and still till today they are supporting us to reach out to this needy. I think a big thank you to each donors who has supported in spite they having their own problems. Especially the individuals, there were many who came up, even they said 100 rupees हम contribute कर सकते हैं, चलेगा क्या? So nice of them. मतलब at least उन्होंने एक step आगे लिया help करने के लिए. It's really heart touching. So a big thanks to all the donors for supporting us continuously.
And all the people who came, I will not say warriors as I was told earlier by Dolphy, all the angels or the saviors, the COVID saviors, all of them also big thank you. Trupti, your last words from you, and then we'll end this because I think it's already now almost 1.5 hours since we've been talking. Trupti, आपको कुछ बोलना है बेटा?
Oh, I mean, this is just beautiful, the stories that we hear. I think we need to get out these stories more and more and show people that you really don't need to be someone big or someone rich or someone very influential to help someone else. Each one can do so much in whichever situation or wherever they are.
Absolutely.
So I think power to all of you, and I think together we will sail through, hopefully.
Thank you. Yes, we will. Together we will, all of us.
Miles to go before we sleep.
Yes, miles to go, but we will do it. And Dolphy, we are going to work on this police reform that you are working on. Yes,
sure, we can do.
And we are going to work on advocating for good health systems, for good public distribution systems, education systems. Thank you so much. And I just wish I could hug all of you, but I'm sending you all a virtual hug from my side. Thank you so much for being here.
But thank you for organizing. Thank you for organizing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care, all of you.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
Be safe.
Thank you, all of you. Take care. Bye. God bless. Bye-bye.